Hi, my name is Karen, and I'm an American lay student of Ajahn Suchart, or Phra Ajahn Suchart Abhijato, who's given me his permission to read his books to you for free. Ajahn Suchart's books and talks are always free. Any ads you may see or hear in this recording are put there by Google for its own revenue, in exchange for letting us use their platform for free. Please forgive me for any mispronunciations of names or words and for any background noises, as I'm just making these recordings in my apartment with an unruly dog and noisy neighbors and things like that occasionally. So I am reading Against the Defilements for you by Phra Ajahn Suchart Abhijato. The entire book will be a total of 12 separate recordings, around 20 minutes each. This is recording number 7, and we are resuming on page 140. I was lucky that I didn't have any obligations when I graduated from university. I didn't have a proper job yet. The job that I had wasn't what I wanted to do, but I had to do it to earn my living. So I didn't care about it when I had to quit. When I ordained, I also didn't have any money or possessions, so there was nothing to regret. So it was quite an easy decision, as I was carefree, having gained and collected nothing, and I had nothing to lose. There were no concerns, nothing to hold me back to a lay lifestyle. With my conviction that it was the right path, one on which I would be able to practice fully, there was only hope that lay ahead. People who enjoy meditation will think that being a monk is the best thing. The Buddha really set out this path, as there is no other obligations for monks. If you look into what the Buddha taught, you'll see that he taught us to only focus on cultivation through practice, to develop and maintain precepts, concentration, wisdom, and nothing else. But these days, monks don't seem to heed his words, or the right thing anyway. They have so many obligations, including group chanting and building things. All these things weren't the main duty during the Buddha's time. The main duty for monks was cultivation through practice. The Buddha never built a monastery, not even one. If it were a monk's duty, who would be able to compete with him? He could have built as many monasteries as he liked, but it was not for monks to do. The only duty for monks is to cultivate the Dhamma in their hearts. Monks are to live rough, to make do with whatever is available. If nobody is willing to build a hut for you, the Buddha taught us to reside under a tree, in an abandoned place, or in a quiet and private cave. These are the kind of places that monks should live in. Robes are also to be sewn from leftover garments and frayed pieces, and then dyed. However, it is very different these days. Nowadays, monks and novices are very caught up in materialistic things and rituals, to the extent that they've forgotten the essence of Buddhism. It is rather difficult for anyone's mind to penetrate the true Dhamma. It is impossible without real determination and proper understanding. Monks don't even know why they ordain to begin with these days. They ordain as a rite of passage or as a custom. They may enjoy the lifestyle and stay on as monks, thinking that they would contribute by building things. But they don't really study or practice. They may study only to memorize certain things to be able to parrot them to others. They may even reach the highest level of study, but never put it into practice themselves. The knowledge remains just on a piece of paper, nothing more than a certificate. Within their hearts remain all the defilements. And I'm scrolling past just photo type pages and resuming on the next teaching on page 144. Many of those who ordained here don't know about the way of practicing monks or Kammatthana monks. Most of them ordained as a rite of passage. When they see monks living up here, they also want to give it a try. But they don't really know why monks stay up here or what they do. So when they come up, they don't really meditate. They end up chatting and drinking tea and coffee. Or they go around bothering those who want peace and quiet. Those who really are focused on meditation will not want to get involved or socialize with anyone. When you're alone in a place like this, there will be nothing to ruffle your mind. Your mind is like a pond. If someone gets in it to bathe or play, The water will get muddy and not be still. When your mind comes into contact with various forms, sounds, odors, tastes, and touch, it will waver constantly. When it wavers, it won't be still. It won't realize the bliss and the sublime of tranquility. It won't be able to discern the fulfillment and contentment that arise from mental cultivation through meditation practice. I'm scrolling to the next teaching on page 146. Many new monks are eager to leave and practice elsewhere. They don't want to study or learn anything. They want to do austere practices, dhutanga, by going on such a trip right away, without having learned any basics. Their minds aren't yet calm, and they don't really know what meditation practice is. They won't meditate in a forest, ending up doing everything but practicing. I just want to preserve the peace and quiet of this place. For beginners, they don't really need the peace and quiet of a place like this just yet. There just needs to be privacy so that nobody disturbs them. They can make do with just a room in which they can sit and calm their minds. However, there are many places you can go practice if you really want peace and quiet. You have to find them yourself. All of you will have to find a place and a teacher when it is time. And scrolling to the next teaching on page 148. Right after I ordained, I got a chance to really practice. I was very fortunate to have found it at the very first monastery that I went to. It was a place that was solely dedicated to Dhamma practice, not to mention the strictness. It was very intense, which helped me a lot. I thought my practice was already intense, but compared to other monks there, I realized that it wasn't at all. I thought that having one meal a day was already an achievement. But once I got to Wat Pa Bon Tad, I noticed that a monk sitting next to me would disappear for several days at a time. So I asked people where he had gone to, whether he had gone home. They said no, and that he was fasting. Seeing that he could fast prompted me to try fasting myself. It turned out that fasting was really conducive to my practice. When you're fasting, you'll get hungry. And when you're hungry, you'll have to resort to meditation practice to alleviate your hunger. Your hunger is partly due to your thoughts, sankhara. When your mind is prone to think about food, you'll salivate just thinking about it. You'll feel hungry, and so will your mind. When your body isn't hungry, but your mind is, it is your mind that suffers. When you feel hungry, you need to start meditating right away. Once your mind is calm, your hunger will fade away. So there are two types of hunger, physical and mental. Your physical hunger is not as severe as your mental one. When you're not meditating, your mind will proliferate all these thoughts about food, which are very tormenting and make you really hungry. But when your mind is calm, that tormenting feeling just disappears. There will only be a sense of lightness. Your empty stomach might make you feel slightly lethargic, but it is definitely not as tormenting as the mental craving. Fasting is a way to make you constantly meditate. If you don't, you'll end up thinking about food. Fasting, therefore, benefits a meditation practice in many ways. Before I began fasting, I would feel hungry in the evenings as my mind would think about food. After having tried fasting for a while, my mind stopped proliferating about food. Having gone 3 or 4 days without food made me realize that foregoing a supper isn't such a big deal, and so it became very easy. Fasting for 3 or 4 days makes just about anything tasty, including plain rice. It makes it a lot easier in terms of eating, being less picky. It also keeps you alert while meditating and not lazy, which is contrary to eating regular meals. Having eaten and feeling satisfied will make you less inclined to meditate and more inclined to lie down. So if fasting suits you, it can be really conducive to your practice. To fast while practicing will make you determined to meditate. Having to fight against the suffering from thinking about food will force you to keep practicing. Your mind will calm down with meditation. If you keep doing it, you'll become used to and good at practicing. So then you can meditate without any condition. And scrolling to the next section on page 152. One way to help with sleepiness while meditating is to eat moderately. Each individual's sense of moderation varies. Some people don't eat after midday. Some only eat one meal a day. And some may fast for 3 days without eating solid foods and only consume juices or other supplements such as milk. This may cure sleepiness. However, in the Buddhist canon, Tipitaka, the Buddha said to get up and do walking meditation if you're getting sleepy while sitting in meditation. If walking meditation alone doesn't work, you should try walking in scary places. Some respectable teachers did their walking meditation, Chankama, where there were tigers. That way, you will stay alert. Sitting in meditation in scary places will also keep you alert. Some people do their sitting meditation in cemeteries to keep them awake. There are many ways to keep yourself awake while meditating. You have to see which suits you most. If it doesn't, you may end up losing your way. For instance, if you get scared easily and choose to sit in meditation in a cemetery, you may end up losing your mind. And scrolling to the next teaching, beginning on page 154. Those who seek peace of mind need to avoid sensual pleasures. They will be able to calm their minds more easily during meditation. You have to be strong because sensory desire, kamachanda, is one of the 5 hindrances, pancha nivaranami, mental factors that hinder progress in meditation. They act as barriers that obstruct your mind from entering a mental state of calm. Aside from sensory desire, there is also the hindering factor of doubt, vichikiccha. When you meditate, a doubt will arise, making you question the effectiveness of the technique of reciting Bhutto, or the existence of the Buddha, his teachings, and his noble disciples. You question if meditation will really calm your mind. These doubts will make you hesitant and distracted during your meditation. It will hamper your focus, determination, and conviction, and prevent you from making progress. When there is doubt, you'll need to listen to those with experience to guarantee the result, encouraging you to keep on reciting Bhutto and ensuring the wonderful result. Hearing it from someone who is respectable and trustworthy will help eliminate your doubts. Just focus on only one word, Bhutto, while meditating. There is no need to doubt, to waste your time. Use mindfulness to keep you focused, and soon enough the word Bhutto will get you through the 5 hindrances and into the state of mental calm. When it comes to sloth torpor, thina mita, you'll need to regulate your eating and food intake. Don't overconsume or go to scary places to keep you alert and awake, such as cemeteries or the wilderness. Staying at monasteries is to train yourself to live rough and minimally. When I stayed at Wat Paban Tad, I just made do with whatever they provided in terms of food and living arrangements. When there was spare time, I helped out with communal chores, cleaning toilets, sweeping, etc. These activities are often shunned by people with ambition, but you're here to go against the grain of your mental defilements. The defilements often push you to strive for wealth and prestige, but you're here to train yourself to be poor and without any social ranking, to make yourself like a rag that can be used by anyone and for anything. You have to be able to clean toilets, wash dishes and spittoons, and do anything as long as it isn't immoral or doesn't trouble anyone. And scrolling to the next teaching, beginning on page 158. When you sit and listen to a Dhamma talk by any respectable teacher, you should remain in one posture until he finishes his talk. If you really pay attention to the talk and your mind is focused on listening, then the pain won't be intolerable. But if you don't stay focused on listening and instead pay attention to the pain, it will worsen. Your mind will proliferate and the pain will increase, just like enlarging an image. When your mind is aversive to it, the pain will intensify. But if your mind is at ease, like listening to music or playing cards, you can sit all night and won't feel a thing because you enjoy it. I was lucky that I didn't have a lot of questions or problems with my practice. Listening to Wangta Mahabua's Dhamma talks was enough for me to get by. At the time, he would give Dhamma talks quite often. Every 4 or 5 days, he would call a meeting to give us a lecture on Dhamma. So I tried to learn and make the most from his talks. He'd usually make his Dhamma talk in 2 sessions. In the first session, he'd discuss things in general. In the second session, he'd talk about his practice, how he managed to sit in meditation all night, how he fought his own fear, and how he managed to resolve issues at that time. He'd just sit and talk to us while chewing on his betel nut. You'd gain knowledge on Dhamma or get answers to your questions mostly while giving him a massage. If you got a chance to serve him, such as being his attendant, you'd get a lot of opportunities. Being around him and attending to his needs is like being in a boxing ring. Your opponent constantly seeks to attack you, and so you have to always be on guard. It requires you to be mindful and sharp at all times. But if you're not around him to attend to his needs, then you're playing the audience role, for instance, just watching and observing. You won't have him to help push you in terms of the Dhamma and its practice. If you're able to practice on your own, then you won't need to rely on him to push you. But if you get a chance to be around him, then it is a good opportunity, just like Venerable Ananda, who got to be the Buddha's close attendant and managed to learn a lot from it. But this wasn't the case for everyone, since there was only one Buddha, with lots of disciples. So it depended on whom he would consider and give a chance to. It is, however, not necessary that all the disciples have to be around their teachers or become their attendants. There are those who weren't around or close to the Buddha and other respectable teachers and still managed to become enlightened. There was a lay person who approached the Buddha during his alms round and asked for a Dhamma talk. The Buddha told him that it wasn't appropriate to do so then, but he insisted and pleaded with the Buddha. So the Buddha just briefly told him, reflect on the voidness of everything, that there is no essence to anything. The lay person took the Buddha's teaching into consideration and felt compelled to ordain. So he prepared his monk's requisites, but he was killed by a bull on his way. The Buddha's instruction to build a stupa to contain his ashes after his cremation shows that he was enlightened. We all have accumulated varying amounts of merit, punya, and perfections, parami, in the past. Some were always around the Buddha but didn't become enlightened. Some even turned into the Buddha's enemies, such as Devadatta. Devadatta was conceited. After gaining special abilities through concentration, he stopped developing his wisdom. He let his defilements take charge of himself and became consumed in his own abilities and self-importance, causing him to want to take over the Buddha's role. Devadatta got upset and angry from the Buddha's rejection, and so he committed some bad deeds. He tried to kill the Buddha 3 times, but didn't succeed, and he fell into a sinkhole in the end. Due to the large amount of merit and virtue he had done, the Buddha predicted that Devadatta would become a Pacceka Buddha, or a solitary enlightened one, after having paid for all his bad deeds in hell. Therefore, all the merit Devadatta had done didn't disappear, even if he didn't get to benefit from it during his lifetime. The fact that he was ordained by the Buddha and learnt about and practiced the Dhamma was a result of his perfections, which were thwarted by his bad deeds. So he had to repay for his bad deeds first, before he could reap his merit and rest in peace. One can't deny the results of one's good and bad actions. It is only a matter of time. Don't be discouraged. Don't think that you have gained nothing from your effort and cultivation. It may be that the merit you've done is still not quite enough, or it is not yet the right time to yield its results. It may be due to timing that the bad deeds you have done still outweigh the good deeds. So it seems that you always end up with mishaps. You just have to accept that they may be due to your past actions. You can't change what you have done in the past, the results of both good and bad actions. It is only a matter of time when it comes to reaping them. Your duty is to abstain from all evil, to cultivate what is wholesome, and to purify your mind. This is the gist of all the Buddha's teachings. This is the Patimokkha exhortation, Ovada Patimokkha, that was given to Magga Puja. To abstain from all evil, to cultivate what is wholesome, and to purify one's mind. This is the teaching of all the Buddhas. So there is no need to wait for the coming of Buddha Arya Mitaya. He will teach the same thing as the Buddha, the same as what you're hearing now. If you don't practice meditation, no matter how many Buddha Arya Mitaya you come across, you still won't practice. It all comes down to you and not your teacher. All the respectable teachers have already done their part. It all comes down to you, whether you're ready to undertake it or not. So you have to make an effort to follow this path. Try to let go of worldly pleasures. Whatever you can cut down, then do so. Whatever you can live without, then do so. You have to forego, practice, and sustain your effort. Forego anything that is futile or harmful. Cultivate anything that is beneficial. You have to do both of these things, and they will eventually guide you or lead you to it. Your gender and age do not matter. What matters is your action, which is the main cause and condition. If it isn't so, both monks and nuns won't have become enlightened. It all depends on your practice. Stay determined. Be confident in the right path you've chosen. Keep up with your effort. Make as much effort as possible, and the good results will follow. That is it for today. We just finished recording number 7. We'll start recording number 8 on page 164 next time. With metta. Bye-bye.